All right, let me give you guys a little bit of background on myself. I've been doing insurance and retirement planning since 2004. When I was a young pup, became $1 Million Roundtable. Last year, became one of the top 1% of financial advisors and insurance agents throughout the whole world. At the same time, I opened Matthews Financial in the midst of the Great Recession. I'm not sure if you guys remember 08 and 09, where a lot of businesses were failing. In 07, 08, there was Washington Mutual around. We had tons of businesses that failed. There's tons of banks that failed. But over the last 4 or 5 years, we've been having upward growth. We've been giving tremendous service. And we've been staying ahead of times because we do specialize in tax strategies and retirement planning. Okay? So the 4 things that we mostly do, we do health insurance, life insurance, income replacement, long-term care, but most importantly tonight, we're going to talk about retirement planning. And before I really get into retirement planning, I like to give everybody a market update on what's happening with the economy, what's happening in the world. How many of you guys seen the State of the Union last night?
Oh, that was wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. Somebody's finally going to do something.
Let me ask you this. Has anybody really watched what's even more importantly, which is the Fed's report? Have any of you guys watched the Federal report? And right now we're starting to see a couple of things that are happening with the Fed. So I always recommend is to watch right now what's with the Feds as they are switching hands right now on who's going to be ahead of the Feds. So a couple of things we've been seeing, right? Last year, 1998, great year for the stock market was last year. It's the best since 1998, which means a lot of people made a lot of money. The rate of return was over 20% in the Dow. So if you was one of those people that had the money in the market, you made great rate of returns and over 20%, and that includes before dividends. So you might even got dividends on your money. Great year. If you look a person like me, I did great, right? The Dow Jones right now is down 5% for the year, right? And there's a couple things that's happening that us have never thought about how closely our world is compared to what was 20, 30 years. One thing is Turkey's talking about raising interest rates. That's what killing us. Shadow banking in China. Have you guys heard of shadow banking in China 5 years ago? Raise your hand. We just knew America brought a whole lot of money from China. But now they're talking about there's issues with shadow banking in China. So as more and more things are coming out about our banking systems that are so connected that we're thinking, why did China affects us? One thing a lot of people don't know as a side note, a lot of Chinese millionaires are moving out of China and moving throughout the world. Guess what's the number 1 place they're moving to?
San Francisco.
Bam. Right?
Absolutely.
So with that happening, millionaires moving to San Francisco, look at the spiral effects is going to happen. Right? Look at Turkey. So right now we're so intermingled with each other, we got to watch not just what's happening in America, but what's happening in the world right now with not just the stock market, the Dow, world markets, people talking about emerging markets. Right. Before we just talked about the BRICS, which, if you don't know, which is Brazil, Russia, Portugal, but now we're talking about different places. Right now, also the Feds are reducing stimulus, right? Which is a huge thing. If you don't understand that, what the Fed's been doing with quantitative easing, they've pretty much been giving tons of money to the banks and large corporations, right? And what large corporations have been doing, they've been buying back stocks. And that's one reason why the stock market has been going up. That's one reason why real estate has been going up, besides there's now more foreign money going to real estate. When the market is going to go down, like some people are saying, well, real estate started damper off as now there's less and less money being eased, right? Another thing is, there's a big uproar about wealth inequality in America. People are upset right now that the wealthy are getting wealthy, right? The wealthy got wealthy last year, even with a tax increase last year. How many of you guys know what the tax increase that happened last year?
Yeah. Capital gains.
Capital gains. Obamacare was a tax increase as well. Had us in 3.8. So even though it was a tax increase, people was getting wealthy off the stock market and real estate, which tells them something. If you're in the game, you got skin in the game, you made tons of money last year. So I highly recommend everybody to start looking at, people should not be so conservative because you did not take advantage of the huge growth of the market that we haven't seen since the late 90s. All right? And the last thing I always say, we have to watch emerging markets, and also more importantly, we have to watch American debt level, right? What did Obama say he wants to do for retirement plans yesterday? Do anybody remember what he said that new retirement plan is coming?
It's my IRA.
Huh?
My IRA.
Yeah, my IRA. Do you guys
We have our
understand?
own.
Right. So I've been up since about 4 o'clock this morning, and I studied what he was talking about with my IRAs. Do anybody understand what he's saying about my IRAs?
Yeah.
Give you a thing, right? And I'm not an economist. I'm a financial advisor, and I'm a nerd for history. I love history. My IRA is saying is that he wants lower to middle income people to start putting money away for retirement instead of using the Roth IRA to start off with the IRA. But you're going to invest in something safe and fixed, right? Which is, he wants people to do government bonds, right? Who knows what a bond is? Raise your hand if you guys know what bonds are. What a bond is saying is that we are pretty much, we rely on America to borrow money from you. And now let you, this sounds a little bit more, give you guys better. In World War II, we went to war, or if you guys had grandparents, great-grandparents, you had bonds, saving bonds, right? So what this is saying now is, since we have such a debt level in America, the government is trying to enhance revenue by not always raising taxes, but now saying we want Americans to start buying some of our debt, or letting us borrow money from before we can lower our debt levels. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be happening over the next couple of years with that, if it's going to happen, and so what's going to happen to our debt levels. Because our debt levels are out of hand. You see that our liabilities are out of hand on the federal, state, and local level. I'll talk about that a little bit further. So while we say this, it's not about how much it's worth, it's about how much cash it can put in your pocket on a regular basis. All right? Matter of fact, let me change that up. It doesn't matter what anything is worth in the stock market. The market's down right now in the stock market. But it doesn't matter because it's all on paper. What really matters is when you cash out on that stock, once you cash out on your real estate, how much cash do you actually put in your pocket? Everything else is just numbers on paper, numbers on computers. It's figurative. It's not an actual thing until we actually have the grips of cash. So I'd like to remind people when we look at our investments where we say, oh, this is worth this, but the next day it could go down because there's fluctuations in the market. So it's not worth anything until we actually have truly worth something, until we have the actual cash. Now, here's the 5 things that actually kill retirement dreams. 1 is not saving enough. Number 2 is sickness. 3 is the wrong approach to investing. 4 is debt. And 5 is taxes. All right, what do I mean by not saving enough, right? Americans, we do not save. We see that over and over again. That's the reason that Obama pushed one way was saying, hey, we need to put people automatic system in for retirement last night. So with that, we as Americans, we need to start increasing our savings, right? Worldly rate in China, the China saving rate right now is 20%. But as Americans, we save less than 2% of our income. And a lot of my clients, if you ever hear talk to my clients about financial planning, I always say you want to have FU money, right? I'm being frank. And what I mean by FU money, there's 2 reactions when you have FU money, right? When I say FU, is when you get mad at your boss, because we all get mad at our boss one time or left, and we want to say FU, right? And you have to have 2 reactions you can do in life. You could be say F you to be go afterwards. You go home, you go to church, say, Lord, please help me, Lord. You know I did not mean it. That was not in my soul. I did not mean to say that, right? But if you truly have enough wealth, and if you save enough money, if you have FU money, you can have a glass of wine tonight, enjoy yourself because you said that remark and you care less what the boss says tomorrow because you have enough money saved. So right now, when everybody, I'm trying to push everybody to start saving enough. And the rule of thumb to saving is we need all save 10 to 15% of our income just for retirement. And then we should be saving another 10 just for our savings. Okay? Okay, the second thing we need to look at is illness can kill our retirement, right? And illness can just kill our wealth, period. Forget retirement, kill our wealth. How many of you guys have family members who are sick, right? And even with Obamacare, we think with Obamacare, all right, we have our health insurance taken care of. But PG&E don't care about Obamacare, right? Your mortgage company don't care about Obamacare. Nobody does. So what we have to make sure is, even though it's a law now to have health insurance, we need to make sure we have a proper amount of money to save for reserves, for income, so we can still live our same lifestyle. But more importantly, we need to look at saying what type of, if we don't have that much money, how can we make sure we have our bills paid for so we don't have to downgrade our lifestyle? So maybe we have to look at getting disability insurance, maybe increasing our savings so we have enough money for it to last 6 months to 9 months. Looking at long-term care, what happens if I get sick? If my kids really going to take care of me? Matter of fact, if my kids do take care of me, do they have enough patience to take care of me, right? So I'll be honest, I'm not going to wipe my mom's butt when she gets older. I'm going to be honest with you.
Borrow money.
Right?
I don't know about
Right, and think about this. If the bank is going, and you say borrow money, right?
Yeah.
Will the bank borrow some money to somebody who's sick?
No.
Right? One question people always ask me, I want to save for college for my kids, but not for retirement. But there's a loan for college loans. But the problem with retirement is nobody's going to loan you money to retire or get sick. And banks are very, very, very conservative with their money. And they want their money back. Just like, who watches the Shark Tank here? Right? right? My favorite guy, right, is Mr. Wonderful,
Yeah.
right? And what do you say? I want to know how I get my money back, right? And banks are the same way. They want to know how they're going to get their money back. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about illness. Also, retirement. When we talk about retirement and sickness, we fail to plan for health insurance when we retire, right? And more, who works for a big corporation here? Who works for the state? All right? More and more corporations are getting rid of their health insurance. So I've been working, last December I was working with a lot of people from AT&T. AT&T gave the people a bundle saying, hey, you're working with us 25 to 29 years, we want you to retire early, right? But we want to give you an extra $75,000, extra $150,000 just to retire early within your pension plan. The reason they want them to retire early is one thing, they ought to contribute more towards their pension plan. But more importantly, is they didn't want to pay for that person's health care when they consider regular retirement care or Affordable Care Act or PPACA. It doesn't control costs as much as people think. So we have to consider if we get sick or when we do decide to retire, more importantly, how are we going to pay for our health care, right? Are we going to save enough for it? Are we going to be able to pay for the high premiums when you retire? Because premiums when you get older, especially if you're doing well for yourself, you're over that, your single person may go over $49,000. You're going to be paying over $1,000 a month for health insurance, right? That's a fact, right? If you're a single person right now who's doing okay for yourself, or in your late 20s, early 30s, you're probably paying almost $300 a month right now. And one thing America has not talked about is controlling the cost of health care, all right? So all of us have to talk about that. So how many of you guys remember when gas was 79 cents a gallon? I remember that. No, actually, gas was $1.25. No, I tell everybody this. I remember when I grew up in Antioch. And growing up in Antioch, people took the BART to the Bay Area on the weekends. My buddies used to give me $5, right? And I'd be happy taking them to BART. Give me $5, take them to BART, drop them off, and I'd be driving around all weekend. Now that $5 is like a gallon of gas, and I'm upset, so I'm not taking nobody for $5. If I lived in Antioch, still took them to the Bay Point BART station, now they have to give me $20. I'm a coffee connoisseur. I love coffee, Blue Bottle coffee, Pete's coffee. Who remembers when coffee was $1 for good, high-grade coffee beans? All right? I'm not talking about McDonald's, but good coffee. I love coffee, right? And remember when Snickers were 2 for $1? Now it's 2 for $2 and all that. All that is considered is with inflation. And all inflation is the cost of how much things go up, right? Which could be based off of how much money's out there and how much everything is rising as far as cost of goods compared to dollars. And right now, I don't see so much inflation going on. We have to consider deflation that's happening in our country. And if you heard the feds, which everybody I think should start watching this, what's going on with deflation? And the reason I say we have deflation is a couple of things. One thing, people are buying less and less goods. And why is that? Because we have a demographic shift in America that nobody's talking about. With demographic shift, how many of us actually, as we get older, spend as much money as we are when younger, all right? Bankruptcies make wealth and cash go down for the common person. So I think right now we're going through a deflation period. And right now we have to consider deflation and hyperinflation at the same time, as cost of goods has been rising, but income is stagnant. And your income, unless you're really building wealth, is going to be stagnant, all right? Most people have not got a raise. Matter of fact, income actually been going down over the last 30 years because of technology, globalization, big corporations. So we have to consider those things when we look at retirement, right, is inflation, okay? Next thing I always want to talk about is not being balanced enough. And I liked what Obama said yesterday about saving for retirement. But here's the thing. If you buy government treasuries, right, bonds, right, how much is the interest rate right now on those bonds? 2 to 3%. How much is the inflation rate historically wise?
2 to 3%.
Right? So you have to really be balanced correctly for retirement. You need to get something that's over 2 or 3%. And as we get older, we should be more conservative. But we still need to be in the market because we need to beat inflation. And not just the market, also in real estate. Whatever your forte is to make money, you need something that beats inflation every single time. Because if not, your money loses power every single year. Because remember, healthcare is going up, right? Food is going up, I love coffee. My coffee price is going up on beans right now. I remember when I was 21, you buy coffee for about $10 a pound for some great coffee, right? But now you're buying coffee $16, $17 a pound. So we have to consider that about not being balanced right. Also, if we're too aggressive, how many people know anybody who was older who retired in 2007 who had a bunch of money in stocks? Wipe them out. Still working or trying to
They have
work.
to go back to work.
Right. And here's the problem. If you're older, let's keep it honest. America don't hire older workers. That's a fact of life, right?
McDonald's.
But say
Exactly.
Walmart,
Say no more.
right? But I got flat feet, right? My feet hurts if I don't have the right soles in them, right? But do I want to be a greeter at 70 years old for the rest of my life getting paid minimum wage? No. Hell no, right? Right? So the key is to be balanced enough. You don't want to be that person 07, 08 who don't have the right type of balance when you're looking at retirement portfolio. So you want to have some more risk in your retirement portfolio, but you also want to be safe, right? To a certain extent where you kind of balance it out. Because you don't want to lose money to inflation, but actually, so you want to keep it up. But you don't want to have all your money risky and you could lose it during those crucial times. Especially as we get older and older, we should get more and more conservative with our portfolio. Okay? Taxes. Right now, I think taxes is the biggest killer of wealth. I think the tax talk is just starting to tip. How many of you guys read the Tribune a couple weeks ago about the California liability still? For its pensions, its CalPERS, its STRS, how everything's underfunded. Have anybody read that? All right. If you guys have not, email me, grab my card, email me. I would love to show everybody this article. But what it's pretty much saying is California has huge amount of liabilities right now. Right? The federal government has huge amount of liabilities also. They're paying for tanks after tanks after tank after tanks. And they're shredding them at that point when we have this huge amount of debt. So with that, we have to consider those things that with all that debt that our state and our country is that we have a lot of debt. And what's the easiest way to pay off debt? Make it borrow, not borrow. Take a little bit more revenue, take a little more money on your credit card every month, right? Don't make that minimum payment more, right? Then also, so what we have to do is we have to plan for taxes if they want to increase revenue, right? And the easy way to increase revenue is through taxes. And we're already starting to see that with our city, state, and county raising rates. Your water company raised rates, not just because of the drought, because they need more revenue as well to pay for different things. So what we have to do is look at how tax rates are going to be when we retire, because taxes are our biggest killer of wealth. So with that, we have not just planned for getting the tax and minimizing our taxes today, but let's look at what's taxes going to be down the road. Are you going to go back to our historical averages? How many of you guys know what the historical average for tax rates are? 64.18%, right? For the top tax rate in America, on average, was 64.18.
How much money would you have to be earning in order to be in that tax bracket?
Depends. So you go through the Reagan era when it was at about 68, then you had at one point at 70%. You was making about $300,000 a year.
That was all the honest people, all the big people make a lot of money, don't they?
So you have, remember, with wealth in America, you usually have two different groups of people. You have your professional doctors, attorneys, and lawyers who make wealth. They're getting their butts kicked, right? And they're the top 1%. And they're making about, in America right now, top 100% is $450,000. But then you have those mega rich who can avoid all the taxes. It's the guy who's seen one of my favorite movies right now, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen that? Where the guy took all his money, wrapped himself around and the women and went to Sweden and avoid those taxes, right? And you have those. But for the top tax rate for a lot of people, the historical wise was 64.18. And usually when we go to war, we raise taxes.
If you look at your chart, the top are actually paying 90.
At one point, we were paying 90.
To pay off the war.
To pay off the war. And we still haven't paid off our wars yet. Matter of fact, we're still in war. We're still paying for those drones flying everywhere, bombing, Afghanistan and Pakistan and everywhere other stand there is in the world. Right? So with that, with us having to pay off that debt, we still going to have to pay for those wars sometime. You see, if we don't pay it today, we won't pay it in the future. One way is we're going to raise revenue. When it sounds like we want to pay for bonds. And have more bonds for people, which is going to be the big trend. Your grandmother going to come out, bring out the same bonds again for you, buy it for you for Christmas. But if for that, we have to do proper tax planning for what's going to happen down the road. Okay? And let's say this. Why even if the government don't raise tax rates? Right? You probably still going to be in a higher tax rate when you get older. For a couple of reasons. One thing, your kids are out the house. you don't have the child tax credit, right? As you get older, you get a little bit more conservative with your money, right? So you've been paying off more and more of your principal off your home. With you paying off more and more of your principal, right now, your interest deduction on your taxes go down. So for the typical employed person, you don't have that many deductions when you get older. Matter of fact, people want to try to bring your grandkids and live with you for the tax deductions down the road. Even though you don't want to see them every day, you just want to borrow them for a few days. So, so how can you properly save for higher taxes? There's 4 things. One thing, you can start contributing to a Roth IRA, right? Number 2, is, which is starting to become more of a trend in America right now, is doing a Roth IRA conversion, right? Which means you have a regular IRA, you have a 401k plan that's been rolled over, right? You can roll over that 401k plan to your IRA and convert it and pay taxes on it. But I was just so I can give people a heads up on that. You don't have to pay taxes if you're below 59.5 out of your own pocket for that. Also, more and more companies are doing Roth 401k plans. I'm trying to tell everybody, take advantage of Roth 401k plans, right? And Roth IRA should be in everybody retirement portfolio who wants to retire early. The biggest reason I say that is you want to retire early, right? You're a police officer. You want to retire early. Your retirement is actually at 50-55, 3% at 30, retire at 55. With your IRAs, it's hard if you're below 55. You have to annuitize your IRAs over a period of time. With your Roth IRAs, right, or even with after your conversions, you have 5 years. You have the 5-year privilege where you can apply your base and the growth of it before you're 55.5, which is a huge thing, right? So I'm 30 years old. I think I've been doing good in life. I've been working my butt off. I say I want to retire at 50. I can get a Roth IRA. I want to retire at 50. I can pull out that base in principle out at that time with no problems because I've been having this for over 5 years, right? Third thing is cash value life insurance, which is you can set it up correctly. You could have your cash value life insurance. You can set up as a pension. And last thing is municipal bond. Be cautious because remember, companies and cities do go bankrupt like stock. You don't want that. And a trend might be going on. More and more cities might file for bankruptcy. So you always have to worry about that as well. Okay? Here's my belief system also. On your 401k plan, you should put as much as your company matches, right? Unless your company do Roth 401k plans. Now, if your company do Roth 401k plans, put tons of money in the Roth 401k plan. Also, any additional savings should be in your tax-free bucket. Now, any other time you should put more money into your Roth 401k plan is if you had an outstanding year, right? You've been making tons of money, you've been hustling, working your butt off, and you're doing great. And so you should put more money into your 401k plan. And if you're self-employed, you should start putting money into your SEP or your solo 401k plan, where you can put 20 to 25% of your basis income, based off of how much income you have made for the year, up to about $50,000. Okay? So this is how your portfolio should look like. You should have your guaranteed money, which is your Social Security, your pension if you're a lucky state employee still, or a retiree from AT&T or one of the old major S&P 500 companies. Also, you have your taxable account, which is your IRAs, your 401k plans, right? Where you get the tax deduction now, the money grows tax deferred, but then you pay the taxes when you do retire. The third bucket should be your Roth IRA, your Roth 401k plan, which is your tax-free bucket, where you did not get the deduction today, but you say, hey, taxes might go up down the road. Let me plan for it. I want to retire early. So let me get a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k plan. The fourth is your tax-free guarantee money, which should be your cash value life insurance, which you're setting up as a pension for yourself. And the last is real estate, because even with all these accounts right here, unless you're doing a self-directed IRA or Roth IRA, most of the time you cannot do it, right? So I always say you want to put real estate in there because real estate can build up cash. And I'm a person who believes cash is king. You don't go based off what the numbers say on paper. You base everything about how much cash you can actually put in your pocket. Right? That goes with dividends. When I invest in my personal stocks, I usually buy things with dividends. I love dividends and cash in my pocket. Right? So you don't base off of things what it's going to be in the future. You base off of what things are right now. And if you get real estate or anything that give you cash now, you're doing great. My family's from the South, perfect example. My mom said, don't count your chickens before they hatch. And that's a perfect thing that people cannot forget. So don't think that the market is going to give us another 20-some percent, 30% in the stock market. Don't think real estate is going to go back to 97. Let's look realistically about what we can do for our retirement and look at realistically what's happening in our portfolio. Thank you so much.
Thank you.